Okay, let's get the final lap of the show talking about the Nigerian market, debt market, that is. Yesterday, a very interesting day, of course. The volume and the value of trade, treasury bills continue to rise as we try to wrap up the week and folks try to balance their books for the month of July as we get into the half of the third quarter. Let's get Bankole Odusanya into the conversation. He's the head of fixed income dealing at UBA, live to us from FMDQ Exchange Place in downtown Lagos. Bankole, good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning, boss.
Great. So, give us a bit of a highlights of yesterday's trading. Then I'm going to ask you what your playbook is for the new month of August.
Okay, ending the month of July, it was mixed sentiment. System was illiquid, and we saw a lot of banks and other participants in the market selling down treasury bills. So bills moved from the low of 9.5 and 9% into the 10% range across the curve. This continued until Monday, when federal allocations were issued. Federal allocation that was due to states and local government was 361 billion. So that served as some form of palliative, even though we would consider that amount too much because system liquidity has not jumped into the 500 billion range. System was quite tight when that money came in, and so it has remained around 200 billion to 300 billion levels. But what we've seen is the activity kicked off on some maturities, especially when some participants went to the auction and lost out at the auctions that was just concluded on Wednesday. On the T-bills end, if you look at the calendar, especially for the 15th of August, the amount on issue is very low, just 35 billion. And the demand in the market outweighs that. So we expect that the demand is going to shift to the secondary market and bring down yields further until the end of the month in August, where 200 billion will be offered. The game changer, however, would be OMO issuance, which we have not seen since 18th of July. This is not an anomaly since May, since the Central Bank Governor and the Monetary Council Policy Committee insisted that banks should do more lending and would be advised to reduce the amount invested on securities. So we have seen a decline in OMO issuance, basically on the treasury bills end, spurring activity on the FGM bond side and secondary market activities on the treasury bill side.
For you folks at UBA, Bankole, what's your playbook for the second half of the year as far as the debt market is concerned? If you're taking anything in from the new cabinet, the fiscal space, and the developments across the global space, I'm sure you folks, one ear listening locally and the other ear listening to what is happening outside the country, I'm sure you guys are up to speed on what is making the headline.
Yes, thank you very much, boss. Globally, interest rates are on the decline to ensure that there's funding to stimulate economic activities as we expect some form of global recession. Nigeria, fine, we had done a 50 basis point as early as January. We've seen 2 monetary policy committee meetings since then where we expected rates to drop, but we've not seen that. It may happen anytime soon. As a trader, basically, we must accept these levels that we are trading as. We must continue, it's difficult to forecast that rates will spike up when the central bank means what it says. We've seen them hold up for 3 months and not issue excessive OMO treasury bills. And then it looks like this rate between 9 and 11% has come to stay for treasury bills. And then bonds are currently at upper end of 13. We may even see that slide to the 13 itself or sub 13, that's 12.8 levels. So that's what we are looking at basically. And market is purely driven right now on level of system liquidity.
So where is liquidity? Where will this liquidity be coming through when we start the market on Monday after the weekend? Where do you see that coming from? Okay,
besides FAC, cash calls have been received. We expect that now that there's a government, and there's rumor that there are names to which ministries the screen ministers will be taking. I expect activities to kick in, and then some form of government expenditure to increase. Let's not forget that that may also have impact on borrowing on the other side, and then what happened at the last bond auction may not happen again, where 145 billion was offered and just about 80 billion was sold. We think that there's some pressure into raising money, and then resumption of expenditure would also help to kickstart the market. So it makes for interesting times for debt market. It's either that we're playing on lean rates, or we're beginning to ask for more if the government is going to be willing to raise more money to stimulate the economy and start pushing their projects. Then they should also be willing to pay for more, basically.
Okay. Bankole Odusanya, thank you so much. Do enjoy your weekend and see you some other time here on Business Morning. Bankole Odusanya, the head of fixed income dealing at UBA, live to us from FMDQ Exchange Place. So give you a sense of where the market finished off yesterday, the first trading day of the new month. It was a Thursday. Stock market went up about 0.1%. Well, nothing much really if you look at it. If you drill down the numbers, thank you to MTN, 1.61% gain on the counter yesterday. That gives the market about 0.1% on the chin up, but the rest of the market was largely lackluster. Where are the numbers? Shall I bring them up on the silver screen and let's show that to our viewers in summary if you're tracking the market. We're still below the 28,000. That's not news. Equity cap, we lost a few billions of naira. Yes, on a daily basis. Flip that over. Let's go to the next page. And that's where you begin to drill down a little bit. Less than 100 million shares were traded yesterday. That tells you how sour or sluggish the appetite of investors on Thursday. Less than 100 million shares? That's one of the lowest I've ever seen for less than 2 billion naira and just less than 3,000 transactions. That tells you the appetite for equities remain very weak among investors. Then you look at the 5 most watched subsectors. Bring it on. Look at the banking sector. That's down nearly 1%. Consumer goods made about 0.1%. Then industrial goods was off track by almost the same margin. Then you had insurance sank 0.62%, and oil and gas off track 0.5%. That tells you that if you take the consumer goods and add MTN, 1.6% gain, that's where you found 0.11% on the all share index, or what you call the composite index for Thursday. But look at the oil and gas a little bit closer. There you find 40 oil. Investors took 8.14% profit on that energy trader. Oando was on change at 3.7, 1.2 million shares. The price finished off unchanged. Then you find Etana Oil was booked 10% on 1.064 million ordinary shares. That's a small cap company. Global Specs investors traded 1 million ordinary shares of this company based on its latest earnings that was released on the market in the last 48 hours. Then you find Japol sitting at 20 kobo per share, down 4.76% on the day. Where are we as far as the unlisted securities, NESE, over-the-counter market? Take a look at the numbers here, taking a cue from the bigger stock market, 0.89% in the negative territory. You see the USI, that's shrinking a little bit there. That needs a bit more fillip. Market cap also shaving a bit on the day. If you look at the volume, that's quite a bit decent on Thursday, if you ask me. Okay, that's got the numbers. 416.3 million unlisted shares traded for 12.4 million and in 24 transactions. Considering the size of this very small market, that's quite decent for the day. And finally, a bit of a summary of the fixed income space for you based on what Bankole Odusanya says there a little bit earlier. And we're bringing on with Treasury bills first. That's the 306 deals for 111.45 billion naira on Thursday. That, and of course, you look at the discount highs, you're in the market. Yes, that's, you see the numbers. Those treasuries were the foremost actively traded, and they are maturing between now and the end of the year, 19th of December 2019 there. Flip it over, look at the bond market. Bit of a very quiet day, 6.42 billion naira in 26 deals or transactions. Let's just give you a bit of a summary of that. We have quite a bit of stories to look forward to us when we come back next week, but you have a lot on your minds. And the biggest story Is the global trade war reloaded, according to the U.S. President, Donald Trump? Have a lot to talk about in the afternoon. I'll see you again, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. And see you again on Monday, bright and early, Business Morning, here on Channels Television, Nigeria's news leader.